Okay, so I said I was going to pick on everybody today, and that's what I'm going to do. So I picked on myself a little bit in the last video, and I'm going to pick on myself a little bit again in this one. A bad habit that I have had for a long time, as long as I can remember, and most women, I'll wager, do this. And it's kind of taught, a lot of times it's out of choice, but it's also kind of taught to us. So either way, it needs to stop. But it's this. If I sacrifice this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, everything will go okay, and eventually it'll all come back to me someday in some other way, shape, or form. Now, what you're doing is destroying yourself because you're assuming that tearing yourself apart is going to somehow be repaid in some way or another. Well, let me tell you, it's not. Tearing yourself up for other people is not going to go into some, it's not going to be logged into some bank where, you know, all your good deeds are written down, and then it's all just going to come back to you magically because, you know, you made so many sacrifices thinking about the future and how if you just do this now, you know, fingers crossed, it'll be better for you later. It'll all turn up, you know, in your favor later. That's not going to be at all how that works. And it's just not how that's not how that works. What you're doing is sacrificing yourself without any kind of assurance of anything in the future, you know, any kind of stability or anything like that. If you're just doing it, you know, just thinking to yourself, well, you know, all this will come back to me somehow. This I'll get my repayment somehow, you know, whatever. No, because you're making an investment. You're doing you're doing it that what you're doing is what happens when men climax. They spew the energy out, and it just kind of goes wherever. You know, they spew out semen. It just kind of goes wherever, and there's no direction. There's no you know, focus. It just shoots out. And I had somebody tell me one time, who I will not name, well, yeah, it comes out and then the energy can just go wherever it needs to go. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. With as much as that person thought that he knew about energy, which was a lot of men I was with, not just one, but a lot of them, you know, thought they were real fucking Aleister Crowleys with, you know, the energetic shit. And that's not, they don't know shit about it because they just don't. Sorry, it's Crowley, not Crowley. And I knew that too. But, so what I'm saying is, you cannot just spew out your energy wherever and expect things to work in your favor. It doesn't work that way. Whereas, you know, on the opposite end, a woman's climax is internal. Well, it can be external, but, you know, it takes place for the most part internally. So the focus, so long as you know what you're doing, your focus while you're doing it can come to fruition in your life in ways you would have never imagined, so long as you do it right. But that's tricky, and it can take a long time to learn, but it can be done. But what the kind of climax you have, where everything happens on the inside, is the kind you want, because that you're keeping your power that way. You're holding it that way. It's all you gotta do is pinpoint what you want while you're doing it, and you get that going right, and you're gonna be golden. But we'll get to that some other time. That's a whole other thing. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you are gonna just, like, you know, mindlessly every day devote yourself to things without having a focus for the results or where it's even going, or what you want out of it, out of the end of it, you're wasting yourself, because every day you're giving yourself to something thinking that it's going to come back to you in some way, shape, or form without knowing what that is. And if you don't know what that is, that energy's not going to know where to go. It's not going to know. It's got to be directed somewhere. It's got to go somewhere. That's why, like I say, when men spew it, it's, if they're just by themselves, shooting it into a sock, it's not, because it's not going anywhere important, nothing's gonna happen with it. But once you align it with something meaningful, i.e. eggs, or at least the cauldron, it's going somewhere directly, and there's more power in there. There's more power with that than just like, shooting it into the air, on making a video. Do you see what I'm saying? So women are doing that. They're so they're having to be so masculine these days, and a lot of times sometimes they're even choosing it, like with that, where they just kind of like shoot the energy wherever and just hope for the best. And that's not, you cannot build on that. You cannot build on that. Women cannot build on that. Well, men can't either. They just don't realize it. But, just like sacrificing yourself every day, that's not, if you're going to sacrifice yourself to anything, you need to sacrifice yourself to yourself the way Odin did, if you're going to get anywhere with anything. So if you're going to devote yourself like that, devote yourself to something that's going to help you, instead of just, giving up this and giving up that and keeping your fingers crossed. That's ridiculous. And women need to quit doing that, because that's why you're so damn miserable. You're doing shit like that, telling yourself it's going to be better someday, and then all the while you're still hating your life. Well, you're hating your life because you're not devoting it to something specific, or you're not looking for a specific result. You're not holding any accountability for what you're doing. It's just kind of like floating around however. That's not going to cut it. So, the fact that you're wasting yourself on something like that with no real intentions or no real plan, that might be why you're so angry about your life, because you're not you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything with it. And you have to, pinpoint your focus. The martyr thing, that's not going to get you anything, because people aren't going to respond the way you think they will. They never do. They never do. Your children won't respond the way you think they will. They'll just get used to it. And Lord knows men will get used to it, because they have the same reactions to stuff that you do. They're going to get spoiled by it. But they won't say thank you. They're not going to see the wisdom or the effort behind what you're doing. They'll just get spoiled by it. So, you have to be careful with how much you're willing to give up of yourself, before you finally snap and say, okay, I'm not going to do anything for anybody anymore. I'm too pissed off. Fuck everybody. Because once you start that, you're no good even to yourself. And women have such a bad habit of this, and it's really something they need to quit doing, because that's no way to live. That's really no way to live. I was guilty of that for a long time. Here lately, I've quit doing that. And I feel better about my life now for a lot of reasons, not just that. But I feel better about my life now than I ever have. And I have made some decisions, and one of them was to quit giving myself, mindlessly and limitlessly to, whoever in my life acted like they needed me. And I just quit. I established my limits and my boundaries. I said, okay, enough's enough. And I just quit doing that. I quit giving myself up at every turn. I quit, sacrificing myself and martyring myself at every turn, in the hopes that, one day it would all work out for me, and one day it would all come back to me in some blessing in some way or another. That's bullshit. That is no way to live your life. That is no way to continue on. Know what you're devoting yourself to. Have some foundation, have some reason behind what you're doing, what you're doing. I'm gonna leave it at that because I gotta get back inside and get some stuff done. But we'll get into more detail later. But women especially have got to quit doing that, because that's not helping you, and that is one of the reasons why you're so pissed off about your life. So think about what you really want to devote yourself to. Think about the results you want to see in your life, and devote yourself to things that will specifically get you those results. Not, just like random helter-skelter shit, okay? Thank you.